between Rome and Carthage. Now, I really like the Roman army that my opponent brought here, aside from one pretty jarring choice. Instead of Triarii, he picked auxiliary infantry. Of course, a big no-no. So, here's my army. I haven't seen this army this exact army used by anyone else from Carthage, so I figured I'd give it a go. It's an all mercenary army, except for the war elephant general. So 4 mercenary Gallic warriors, 3 mercenary Balearic slingers, 3 mercenary Scutari, 4 mercenary Iberian swords, 3 mercenary Celtic light horse, and of course 2 mercenary Numidian noble cavalry. Now, since I haven't seen this army before, what usually happens is that this army will be picked up, or it will inspire someone else, or by pure coincidence someone else will make a video about an amazing new army that they found. That's just how the internet works. But anyway, the plan, as you can see, against infantry heavy Rome is to have a weak center with the mercenary Gallics. These will die fairly quickly. Use these guys to ensure skirmishing superiority, and hopefully be able to swing around the flanks with this awesome shock cavalry. Well, it is decent. If it gets rare charges, it can be decent, but the main idea is to engage in the center for a little while. These mercenary Scutari should do very well against most Roman infantry. Use these guys to take out any cavalry and see how it goes from there. It looks like my opponent is very keen on protecting his archers, so I quite like actually how he is protecting them, aside from these auxiliary infantry, of course. For the entire battle I thought they were Triarii, so I gave them a bit more credit than they deserve. Over here the skirmishing starts, and here you'll see something a bit funny. These guys, because they lose line of sight, will stop chasing, so my opponent, I think that's what happened, my opponent will have to re-initiate, and the same with me, I have to re-initiate here, so I get a bit too close for comfort, have to keep pulling back, but I really want to take care of these Ccccombo because they can really damage all of my very light troops. I have the best holding troops I have are these mercenary Scutari, and they will die to cavalry charges as well. So just skirmishing a bit with the Numidian nobles, getting way too close here, but these guys can take a pounding in melee, and they'll just be able to disengage at will and continue to pour fire into these Ccccombo. Ccccombo are decent. Their main difference between the Equites is that they are heavy melee cavalry. The difference might be noticeable on the charge. Now here my opponent is pushing up, and he's pushing up very aggressively, very Roman. I quite like it. You can see that he has his whole army group that is just moving it forward like a big bulldozer. And I'm going to start firing at his auxiliary Syrian archers. You can see he has put some denarii into upgrading them, so they're going to have a slightly increased rate of fire compared to just vanilla Syrian archers. But him moving them forward like this, I guess that's because he wants to get at my elephants, so I'm just going to move my elephants a bit, but I'm still going to leave them there to entice him into trying to attack my elephants. But I have to pull out of Pila range now, because these guys can take a lot of damage from Pila. But I managed to kill at least some Syrian archers, and this unit is practically out of the battle, so now I'm going to be able to use the Numidian nobles to troll the skirmishing line of my opponent. I'm going to send in the mercenary Gallic warriors, get some charges off on his Triarii, and they will do pretty decent against Triarii, but they will die to Principe and anything heavier than that. So here on the flanks I just have to start pulling away, get charges in where I can, and use my skirmishing advantage for what it's worth. Now my Numidians are going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to his general's bodyguard here, and I'm not going to engage them here because it will take a lot of time for me to kill these auxiliary Syrian archers, and while I do that I will lose a lot of my Numidian nobles, and they're going to be very important. Now, thinking that these guys are Triarii, I'm going to focus a lot of fire on them, which I really didn't need to do. I could just have charged them with these mercenary Scutari. My slingers are safe for the time being, no cavalry units free to engage them just yet. I'm just going to keep my African war elephants near in case. But some nice openings are developing here that is going to allow me to go for his skirmishers. My Gallic warriors defeated there. Mercenary Iberian swords, I'm trying to pull them away, but I'm a bit slow. But my opponent is actually going to pull away here, so good for me. The mix of Iberian swords, Numidian nobles, and mercenary Celtic light horse is going to be able to defeat these Ccccombo equites because of getting the better charge and so on. So now I'm going to pull away from the main engagement, leave these guys to tough it out. The mercenary Scutari can handle it, more than handle it. And now I'm going to send in the mercenary Celtic light horse to stop these guys from firing and make them panic a bit. And when units that are as small as these guys charge into skirmishers, it's much better to stand and fire than to run away, because these units could be decimated in a few volleys by these auxiliary Cyrenarchers. But now they're going to get charged while running, and that's going to make them take more casualties, but not a huge amount because they have armor. So, a unit of mercenary Gallic warriors routing. In the center, my mercenary Gallic warriors and Scutari are holding their own fairly well, actually. The Scutari are a great unit, mainly because they have a good melee defense. Their melee defense is 60 and their melee attack is pretty good as well. Decent charge bonus, so overall a pretty decent unit. Not the best morale for their price, but they are decent. Here I'm trying to chase away his auxiliary Syrian archers, just finish off these archers. This is auxiliary infantry, so if I was aware of that, I probably would have just charged them here. But I thought they were Terraria, I didn't check, so because I thought my opponent went for a Polybian army, and then I just didn't see him bringing any auxiliary infantry, but oh well. Charging these Syrian archers with these mercenary Gallic warriors that came back from routing. And they haven't really done much yet. They're also going to be moving into the range of my Balearic Slingers, but just one volley from these guys could be enough to make my elephants run amok, so I'm going to have to be a bit careful here. And overall I'm quite liking what I'm seeing. My opponent's cavalry is for the most part gone. My opponent's skirmishers is about to be destroyed by these mercenary Numidian nobles, and he has a lot of infantry left, but I'm not too worried since I have ammunition left on my Balearic Slingers, and I also have ammunition left on my mercenary Iberian swords. So over here these Scutari managed to get into these Principe from the side. I don't know, maybe this doesn't see what's going on here. But that happens in chaotic battles like this. So I managed to kill off his auxiliary Syrian archers, and I'm going to focus fire on his auxiliary infantry. Should go down fairly quickly to Balearic Slingers. And now I'm feeling pretty confident that my elephants can do damage here. I don't think I would have needed my elephants to finish this battle, to be honest, and I found that in a lot of battles with elephants. I don't know if it's that the elephants make your opponent focus so much on them that they kind of lose sight of the rest of the army. I know I have done that myself recently in the tournament battle that I posted, where I'm so focused on the elephants that I kind of build the army around the elephants and don't use the rest of the army to the best of its abilities. So the elephants haven't actually killed anything yet, but now they should be able to do a lot of damage getting into these depleted units. Frightening this unit of Principe, not getting the best charge, and here, to be fair, my mercenary Iberian sword should also lose a lot of men since I'm running over them with beasts weighing several tons, so that's just a pretty stupid mechanic from... I mean, several games have a mechanic where if you run over your own units with, say, a tank or other type of vehicle, you should do some damage or potentially destroy your own units. But why Rome 2 doesn't have that for elephants and chariots, I have no idea. It's quite stupid. Roman infantry going down all across the battlefield. Principe got a lot of kills, but on par with the mercenary Scutari, and the Roman army isn't very happy. The general recently fled. They are losing the battle. They are getting scared by elephants. So it's not a nice day to be a Roman. Not a nice day at all. Charging into this auxiliary infantry with my Celtic light horse. They're not going to do too well. They are light melee cavalry. They are a pretty decent cavalry unit. As you can see, they can get a lot of kills. They have a good charge bonus, but they are very light and they are not made for prolonged melees. But in finishing off units like this, they can be pretty damn great. And that's a costly victory for Carthage. Let's have a look at the kills. The elephants hardly did anything, but they contributed just by being there, let's just say that. And as you can see, this isn't a very strong build. It's, in my opinion, it's a weak build, because it kind of has to just make all of its units work optimally in order to be effective. Now, that isn't the hallmark of a weak build, of course, but this build can't really do anything really good. It's sort of a jack of all trades type of thing. It can cause some chaos with its elephants. It has a fairly weak cavalry component, but it has these 9 units able to skirmish, which isn't very great, but it can do some damage. And it has decent melee capabilities in these mercenary Scutari, but it might run into problems against dedicated melee rushes. And would certainly run into problems against skirmish-heavy Parthian and Armenian builds because of the lack of spears and the overall lack of armor on these infantry units. But look at these mercenary Scutari, 245 kills, very good units. And also the mercenary Iberian swords are doing well, and the mercenary Gallic warriors are doing okay, I guess. They are more expensive than the Hastati, and they are not as good, but they are worth bringing from time to time. Quite like these mercenary Numidian nobles, although they are hard to make. It's hard to make them pay for themselves 100%. They are very good in that they can take care of entire cavalry units and then rush into rear charge and stuff like that. So thought that was a kind of pretty fun battle. I wish my opponent had brought Triarii instead and just gone full on Polybian, but still a pretty nice army, although I really don't like this auxiliary infantry, and auxiliary infantry is crap, absolutely crap. So yeah, thanks for the game, Fallen Angel. Always fun with Carthage versus Rome, and a mercenary Carthaginian army no less. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the battlefield.